enter on a laugh. Oh. Hi, everyone. This is Becky. I'm joining in from Dublin with my friends here. So excited that you all could join us today. So I'll just kick off right away. So we are going to be focusing today on our open roles in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland for students studying there or new graduates from there or even potential intern interested candidates. So here we go. Sorry, I'm going to be toggling between two screens too, so don't mind me. So welcome. And then I'm going to also kick off now to share with you who my hosts are with me. So like I said, I'm Becky. I am the University Program Specialist for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. I've been the one that's been emailing you and sharing the links with you. So thank you so much again for joining in. And then I'm going to kick it off to my other hosts.
Yeah, hey everyone, my name is Marisa. I'm an associate account strategist and I work together with agencies.
Hi there, I'm Selena. I'm also in the German team. I'm also an associate account strategist, but I work with small businesses.
Hello, my name is Lilith. I am working in the Google Cloud team and I am in an international team, but I'm covering the German market right now, and the team is called Enterprise Customer Development.
Hi guys, my name is Stefan. I'm working Google Cloud as well, working as an inside sales representative.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining me today and for also sharing with the students what they can learn more about. So quickly, what our agenda will be, like I mentioned, we'll be covering the open roles that we currently have for German-speaking students. As mentioned, my colleagues here are in the teams that we are currently hiring for, so it's extremely relevant information that they can share with you about the role and how their journey from university into this role. And then at the end of sharing more about the teams we're hiring into, I'll be sharing a quick insight into our hiring process and interview process, as I know we often get a lot of questions regarding that. So kicking off, and then we'll end the hour with a 30-minute Q&A. So please feel free to be commenting below on the YouTube channel your questions, and I will do my best to make sure we answer as many as possible. All right, so our open roles, let's kick off with Global Marketing Solutions, sales.
Yeah, so I'm going to start off with this. It's the Associate Account Strategist role that we just talked about before. And so basically what we're doing is we work together with existing customers that do marketing with Google solutions. And basically, the role is a mix in between sales and consulting. So we talk to those clients and we talk about their marketing strategy and how the Google products fit into their marketing strategy. And then we try to optimize their campaigns, start new campaigns, and basically build their whole marketing strategy with them. And we figure out how the Google marketing solutions fit within their total marketing strategy and consult them on how to develop their strategy further. And you might ask yourself, what is important for that role, or how can I join the team? So I have Selena here with me, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about what brought her to Google.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to share some insights with you. So a little bit about my background so that you can understand what I did before Google is that I studied international business in my bachelor's, and that actually gave me quite a good business background and knowledge about that already. And it was like an international program, so also in English, which of course was helpful to really gain a lot of international relations already, just like we are working with like many international colleagues here at Google as well. Then my master's I did in marketing, which was then, although I had some marketing and sales touch points in my international business program already, I could really deepen that knowledge, that theoretical knowledge there. But of course, theoretical knowledge is important. But I personally believe that what has helped me the most in being prepared for the role here at Google is the practical experience that I gained during internships within and during my studies. Of course, I was part of different projects at university. I was in a consultancy there, which I think was very helpful. But especially these internships that I did were very valuable. Mm-hmm. So I, for example, did it in a small startup, but also big name companies just like Bosch or Coca-Cola. And I think I did that in marketing and product marketing. So really hands-on experience in marketing. You might ask yourself, what exactly was it that I learned there that helps me now at Google? So I would say, first of all, when it comes to getting the job, I feel like that practical experience made it possible for me to really articulate what I can contribute to the company, mm-hmm. and also how you deal with different stakeholders, with all the projects that you would have done in these different roles, and to show what impact you had in these roles as well, especially in the interviewing process, I think. And then, of course, during my current role as an account strategist, I feel like since I've been working at this company, especially in marketing, mm-hmm. and that I have like also a general business background, it helps you to understand and like put yourself in the customer's shoes. So I know how you create a marketing strategy. I know like how the marketing landscape and business environment works, which of course makes it easier to really consult them, mm-hmm. and show them how Google can contribute to growing their business. And I think that's very important. And one last thing that I think most Googlers actually do have in common is that we've studied or worked or both in different countries as well, which is very valuable in the sense that, of course, you know how to adapt to a changing environment, which like Google, and this environment is changing a lot. The products are changing, and you should be really feel happy about change as well, I think. And
definitely changes a lot. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. But also to really put yourself in the next client as well, you know, with different business models, different personalities as well. So I think that gives you a lot of experience in that sense as well. So that's about me. But Marisa, what about you? What did you do?
Yeah, so from my experience, I can say mainly the main points that Selena just pointed out are the things that I think also helped me in getting the job at Google, which is mainly having studied or worked in a different country, and on the other side also having relevant internship experience. And I think the nice thing is also that the people on our team have a really diverse background. So I think it doesn't really matter which experience you had in the past, as long as you think it has an impact on what you will be doing at Google.
I agree. So thank you so much for sharing how you think the relevant experience in your journey from your university to this role. So to be clear for everyone, the roles that we are hiring into are associate account strategist for the global marketing solutions sales team. That is a current role open for German-speaking students and new graduates. So in this role, when you join Google as an associate account strategist, your day-to-day, correct, is to work with an existing portfolio of businesses and to help grow and optimize that business, correct?
Exactly.
And so how much do you think of AdWords experience would you need in this role? Or is that something Google trains you once you join? Can you share more about that?
So once you join, you actually go through a 6 weeks program. Okay. And a huge part of it is getting to know AdWords in depth, mm-hmm. and also which are the advantages, which may be competitors, and you really get to know the product in depth. So I think, of course, it's always beneficial if you have previous AdWords experience, mm-hmm. but it's also something that you get taught during the training here, mm-hmm. and you really get prepared for the job and really understanding the product.
Okay.
Absolutely. I feel like we both have a lot of marketing experience, but we have many people in the team that don't, not at all. So that's not necessarily a must, I would say. It makes it easier to understand the environment. Yeah. But some people have worked in pure sales, which they have different skills. So maybe like I had to gain like more the negotiation and sales skills a little bit more, and they the marketing skills. Mm-hmm. But generally, I think it's a mixture. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, to clarify as well, as an associate account strategist, you join without having to be an expert in the product knowledge. That's something that you can learn. I also heard that you said valuable skill sets to the role were your fungibility, so your ability to be in an ambiguous situation, change quickly, change with the product. How important is your customer skills?
I think that's basically the most important skill. Because I think the product, you can just learn it. Like it's a platform, you can learn it. But in our daily business, we're really talking to clients, we're talking to customers. And I think the most important skill there is really getting on a common basis, understanding the customer's needs, understanding the business. And then also, I think when you talk to the customer and about their marketing strategy, also gaining their trust is one of the most important things, because they will only be open towards you. They will only share their insights with you once you really have a good relationship. So I think the people skills and loving to talk to people is the main factor for the role.
Absolutely. You need a lot of empathy, because the first step also in all our calls is always that we go deep into like the business model and the goals they have, and then the product comes next. So it's more a solution for their, let's say, challenge or their problem, that like selling something. It's consultative selling, as it says. Yes.
Yeah. The consulting part. So another thing to point out is this is the associate account strategist for our global marketing solutions sales team is different from, say, our NBS team or our new business sales team. That team, which is also hiring for German speakers, is more of the team that is cold calling and doing that kind of aggressive hunting for clients and customers. That is, and new business sales is separate from what they do. So they already have an existing portfolio that they're connecting with their clients with and trying to help optimize their business for. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So thank you for that. I'm going to now switch over to another role that we're hiring for the German, Austrian, and Swiss market, which is our enterprise customer development role for cloud. And if you don't mind sharing more about it.
I will explain a little bit more. So I'm on the enterprise customer development, short ECD, within Google Cloud. And maybe Google Cloud is always hard for people to understand. Let's start there. Basically, what Google is working on right now is helping enterprises and also other customers to move all of their data and programs and applications into the cloud so that they can work on everything from anywhere. That also means that you can analyze your data in the cloud. And there's a lot of programs that Google has developed that we are currently selling.
Okay.
And we are a bit separated between enterprises, so very large customers, and then smaller and medium-sized companies. And I'm focused on the enterprise sales. And for the enterprise sales, we have salespeople who are in Germany. So I'm working on the German market. And they are actually going to the client, they're talking to them, and they're developing the big opportunities and solutions together with them. And I am working in an international team. So ECD is a team comprised of people who are working on all the different markets within EMEA. So it's very nice because you get to work with people who are not only from Germany or Austria and Switzerland. And we have people from literally every country in Europe in my team, which is very nice. Wow. So I help the people who are in country developing their sales. So I'm basically a sales analyst, and I research the enterprises that we're working with. And I also try to develop a sales strategy with the people who are in country. And so it's a research position. I'm not customer facing. I'm more of an analyst, but it's also a lot about project management because we're working on a lot of accounts at the same time, keeping an overview and also making sure we're talking to the right people in the company. So researching stakeholders and also coordinating internally. So coordinating marketing projects, coordinating maybe with an Android specialist or a customer engineer. And so it's a lot of networking Google internally as well, which is very nice. So there's two parts. There's one very analytical part and one that's more communicative with the people in country and the people here. And it's a new team. We're still trying to work out what we're actually going to do and how we're adding value. But it's very interesting because I get to shape a lot how I'm working, because we're still developing, especially in cloud, because it's so fast growing and developing. There's a lot of change, and you really get to shape what you're doing. You get to shape your job, which is amazing. Yeah.
So for potentially anyone who might not know, can you explain what enterprise is?
Yeah, enterprise means the largest companies within the specific markets, right? Yeah. And that also means that we're focusing also on industries. So in Germany, we have a lot of manufacturing and retail clients, for example. So we're trying to focus on the large players within the specific industries. Yeah, that's enterprise.
Perfect. And real quick, just maybe like 30 seconds of like what skills you think that you learned from university that helped you get this role.
That's also two parts. So one of the parts is definitely a very analytical background. So I have a background in economics and finance. I do a lot of research, and also I don't work that much with data, but you should not be afraid of data for sure. And you should also not be afraid to try to understand all the technical things. So being a little bit more analytical is definitely helpful. And I think that's also what we're kind of looking for. And then the second part is really communication, engaging in projects. I've worked on a lot of like internal student initiatives and also recruitment a little bit within my uni. And it's very helpful because you're going to coordinate a lot of different stakeholders and manage the sales projects. So project management skills and communication is very important.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then next, we're going to touch on another open role that we have within cloud, since cloud is a huge bet for Google and we're growing rapidly in this industry or realm, is our inside sales representative role for cloud. So Stefan, if you don't mind sharing more.
So I'm an inside sales representative for Germany right now. I'm at Google for 2 years now. I already have a track at Google, so it's better to give an overview about what I actually did before. So first of all, I started with my bachelor's in marketing. It was interesting, but I felt like, okay, there must be more to it. So I did SEMS International Management afterwards. So it comes back to studying abroad, which always helps a little bit to get into the company because you're always going to work with multinational colleagues. So it makes sense to have a broader understanding of different cultures, different ways of working. So I studied in Lisbon and in Stockholm. Right after I joined Google, I joined actually in the GMS small business sales area. So I did actually more or less exactly the same what they were doing. I stayed there for 1 year and 3 months. And then since October 2017, I joined Google Cloud. I joined Google Cloud specifically because I felt I want to work more with the technical side of Google. I was always a little bit more interested in, okay, how actually does everything work behind the brand and behind the name, right? So what is the back end, what actually runs Google? So yeah, ever since I'm working at Google Cloud, I'm in charge of Northern Germany, which is then Hamburg, up to, let's say, more or less the mid of Germany. So because we're growing right now quite significantly, we are restructuring. So I can say that overall, we are still a little bit the startup-ish organization of Google in general. There are a lot of changes, so you need to be prepared for these. But also there's a lot of potential. We do have a lot of like processes that can be shaped, ways of working that can be shaped. And then overall, Google Cloud is operating only for a couple of years. So there is still a lot of work to do. My specific role as an inside sales representative, I'm working in the corporate pod, which is the other part to the enterprise pods. I'm working with another inside sales rep here in Dublin, but we do have a field sales rep in Hamburg, and I have a customer engineer in Hamburg as well. So in case there's a customer that has specifically really in-depth technical questions, I can always ask my customer engineer to join it. Overall, my customers in general can be defined as partly current spenders. So these are actually customers that already onboarded to Google Cloud using infrastructure, big data, machine learning solutions. But then on the other hand, I also have customers that are not Google Cloud customers yet. So these are the customers I'm actually trying to get into, provide an added value by selling Google Cloud solutions. And this is than more based on new business sales, like in the GMS sales area.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything after you're hearing from each other you'd want to add about specifically your role or team or what you do? I think one thing I heard is, we are emphasizing international experience and how that opens kind of your mind to different cultures, etc. It is also, though, important to have in-market experience as well, so you understand how your market operates. And one thing I want to clarify is we have multiple teams, obviously, hiring new graduate talent at Google. As you can see here, we have Global Marketing Solutions, Cloud. We also have an Associate Account Strategist role open currently for our Global Customer Care, which sits in our Google Technical Services. We also have Large Customer Sales, which is hiring as well for the German and Alpine market. So you'll see probably a lot of these roles. These are specifically for the German-speaking region, but we also have other teams such as the French team or the Italian team or the UKI market that are also hiring these exact same roles, but for those markets. We like to specify that, at Google, our foundational language is English, but for the German market, we also need German speakers for these specific roles, in addition to the roles that I just shared about Global Customer Care and our Large Customer Sales. We even have a legal assistant role available for the German and Alpine market. So all of these open roles that we currently have are available at google.com/students. And then you would click into the business link, business jobs category, and you'll find a list of all of the open roles. But for today's sake, we wanted to highlight the main teams that we're currently hiring into, because we have quite a few headcount available for all of you viewing in. So with that, anything else before moving on? Feel free to jump in, though. You think good?
Yeah.
Like you said, Google Cloud is growing
Massively,
significantly, and it's a big bet.
Yeah.
So we're always looking for people that are keen on changing the way companies are operating, not only in marketing but also on the back end, because this can actually then disrupt a company in the way it was used to operate before. Because we're not only covering like infrastructure and stuff, but G Suite, so the productivity tools are there as well, and I think most of students are using G Suite nowadays as well. So you know how this actually can change the way of collaboration. So we're always looking for people.
Yeah.
And you can also, maybe it's also important to say that if Stefan says we're changing a lot, that means that there's always going to be more and new opportunities. Like my team, I think someone came up with the idea for my team in January.
Yeah.
And then we were hired in March and now working. So
not surprising.
Things are changing very, very quickly.
Yeah.
For sure. So just keep an eye on open positions that are developing.
And another point on that is that all of our new graduate opportunities are based in either Dublin or in Wrocław, Poland. This is our number one question we get is, do we have any open roles in country? We do, but they're very few and far between. So the majority of all of our entry-level jobs across markets will be based in Dublin. So our office is roughly around 5,000 or 6,000 employees here, and we have most of all of the new graduates coming here to work, to learn their role, grow within their role for a year or so, and then develop from there if they want to stay in their role and grow within management, or if they want to, like what Stefan did, try a new team, try to develop other skills that he wanted to do. There's so much internal mobility opportunities and growth opportunities within Google, and constantly changing new roles. So you're never at a lack of opportunity for personal growth and professional growth as well. So yeah, just to clarify, most of our roles are going to be based in Dublin or in Wrocław, Poland. And but you'll definitely see online in the job posting if there is an in-country opportunity for you there. So kind of on that specific, before moving on to the hiring process. So upcoming events in your area. I will be traveling. So as I mentioned, I'm the university program specialist. So I hope to start building a long-term relationship with you all tuning in. Like I said, this is our first episode of a series. So every quarter, we're hoping to have a YouTube live session for the German-speaking region and highlight new roles that are coming available in your area. And then also new upcoming events and programs that we're shooting for you. So right now we have, I'll be in country. I'll be in Austria and Switzerland next week on the Alpine Roadshow. You might have seen that promoted. And then I'll be actually at the Sticks and Stones conference on June 2nd in Berlin. So if you're already attending, please make sure to stop by the Google booth and say hi to me. You can also still sign up for that conference if you're in Berlin. And then we have Bold Immersion coming up in July, end of July. Applications have closed for that, but we are still receiving some interest. So even though apps have closed for that for this year, be looking out for apps to open in August for Bold Immersion 2019. And then I will also be coming out to the region in October. I'm going to be hosting Ad Camp Zurich, which is going to be a 2-day event where I do workshops, teach you new activities, roles, etc., and skill sets, and then how we have interviews. So those apps haven't opened for Ad Camp Zurich yet, but apps will probably open in August for Ad Camp Zurich. So I'll make sure to send that your way from this mailing list. So those are some of the upcoming events. I'll keep you posted as we continue to run the series too, if anything changes or comes up. So with that, I'm going to go into, so we've heard about these amazing roles. We've heard about some of the skills that you guys learned to get into the role, whether that was international experience, customer experience, maybe some technical, analytical knowledge, role-related skills that you brought. You create that foundation at uni, and then you apply it in your interview process where it is assessed. So what is the interview process? Currently, all of the internship applications for the summer 2018 are closed. However, internships for 2019 will be opening in September. So keep an eye out at the google.com/student site to apply for the 2019 internship program here in EMEA. What that would look like is you'd apply this fall for the internship. Your application would be reviewed for, it takes about a few months to get through all of the applications. If they feel that you could be a fit for one of our open internship positions, a recruiter will contact you and set up an interview process for you. The interview process is much easier than our full-time interview process. It's only 2 30-minute hangout interviews, usually back-to-back. And so you apply online, recruiters review your application. Based off of your skill sets, they'll match you to an open internship position we have, mostly being in Dublin, but we do have actually a few in-country internship opportunities available as well. And that is determinable later in the year, as we don't know currently exactly what positions we'll have available, but your recruiter, if they feel you could be a match, will contact you and let you know the specifics at that time. Like I said, you'd have 2 Google Hangout interviews, and then if they feel you could, you did very, very well, then they will send what we have is a packet to the hiring committee. And then from there, the hiring committee will review your interview feedback and then potentially extend you an offer. So that is the internship process to receive an offer. On the full-time side, however, so as I mentioned, all of these roles are currently available. And so if you'd like to apply now for one of these positions, you can apply directly online. If they feel that you could be a fit for one of these roles we've mentioned, or the other roles that I mentioned, like large customer sales or the global customer care team, then a recruiter will reach out and they will conduct what we call like a 15-minute recruiter screen. Well, they'll ask you more questions about you, try to get to know you a little better. After the recruiter screen, if they feel you are a strong match, then they would move you forward to one business phone interview with someone from the business. It would be roughly about 30 to 45-minute interview. If you pass the business phone interview, then we'd invite you on site for 3 additional 30 to 45-minute interviews with the business. So we would fly you to Dublin or to Wrocław to finish out your interviews. That gives you an opportunity as well to get to see the office, get to see what our culture looks like, get to meet actually in-person people from the team. And from there, if you pass all 4 interviews, then the recruiter would, like I mentioned, like with the intern, would create a packet for you, which consists of your interview feedback, your CV, etc., transcripts, etc. That packet is reviewed by a committee, and they double check to make sure that everything looks good and that you're not only a fit for this specific role, but that you're a fit for Google as a whole. Because as you've heard from my hosts here, that we look for somebody who can be a long-term fit for Google. So even if you start as an associate account strategist and move into cloud, or you can move into cloud into large customer sales, or you could do what I did. I've had 3 jobs in 5 years at Google. I started in legal, actually as a legal assistant, and then moved into recruitment, and now I'm in university programs. So obviously we're looking for people who are a long-term and holistic fit for Google, not just one specific role. So a committee kind of reviews and double checks that, and then we would extend an offer if the committee has approved. So the whole process for a full-time interview experience can be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, just to conduct the phone interview, make sure we can get you on site for your 3 interviews, and then the time it takes to create the packet and have the committee review. So that is the process. During the process, whether it's the 2 internship interviews or the 4 interviews for full-time, we are assessing 4 main attributes at Google. So we are assessing what we call GCA, which is general cognitive ability, or your problem-solving skills. This is how a candidate thinks. So GCA is actually our toughest attribute that we assess. A lot of candidates struggle through this because we tend to ask questions that are hypothetical in nature. So we will either ask a behavioral problem-solving question or a hypothetical problem-solving question. A behavioral problem-solving question looks more like, for example, tell me about a time that you had to create a new project to solve a problem. Something as basic as that. It's actually relying on you to refer back to a time where you solved a problem and walking through how you went around creating that project to solve the problem. Versus a hypothetical problem, which is truly unique and puts you, it's a situational situation. So it'll be like, imagine you had to explain Gmail to someone who's never used the internet. How would you explain Gmail? So this is, like I said, it's not something you can really prepare for, and there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer for our GCA questions. It's more about how you answer the question and how you communicate your thought process through it. So imagine you had to explain Gmail to someone who's never used the internet. Well, the first thing is to break down what is the problem. Okay, someone doesn't know how to use the internet, so what reasonable assumption can I make that they would know? I would think, okay, maybe the person knows how to mail a letter, and then I would explain to them that sending an email is similar to how you would mail a letter. And that necessarily isn't a right or wrong answer, but is it a clear indication that you heard the problem, broke it down, and created a solution that the person might be able to relate to? Like I mentioned, GCA, how a candidate thinks, your problem-solving skills. It's just really, we often suggest using the STAR method to answer these types of questions, which is a situation, task, action, and result. You explain the situation, you explain the task you took, you explain the action, and then the results. Because at Google, like we mentioned earlier, we love data. So anytime that you can incorporate data into your response, so for example, as a result, we increase sales by 20% year over year. That is a great way to incorporate potentially your quantitative results into a question. Moving on, we have leadership skills, which is a little bit more self-explanatory in an interview. So tell me about a time you led a project. So that would be an example of a leadership type question. We have role-related knowledge. So specifically for Google Marketing, Global Marketing Solutions, or for cloud, they might ask you a question that you have to display specific skills for that. So maybe a time that you worked with a difficult customer and how did you problem solve for that. That would be a great role-related knowledge for especially the sales position, because you're constantly working with customers. So we want to know that you can handle customer support and situations. Then we have googliness, which is a little bit more difficult to define. So googliness is focused more on about you as a person and your kind of ethical and moral compass. So making sure that you are thinking about the team, that you're thinking about putting the user first, whether that is an internal stakeholder, an external stakeholder, that you would do the right thing in a situation. So instead of maybe taking an easy way out because you need to make a goal, that you actually do the right thing and do your due diligence. Actually, this is a good point to add. Oh, and just so you guys know, we have a star with us. This is Teddy. He just joined. Sorry if you can hear his panting and you didn't know what was going on. So this is our superstar, Teddy. But do you guys want to actually share really quick about googliness, about how you would define it briefly? If you have an example of how you would define googliness. I think it's about doing the right thing and being respectful of others. So for example, if you were to spill something in the cafeteria and not pick it up, I would say that's very ungoogly. If you were to interrupt someone in a meeting while they're talking, I think that's ungoogly. Things like that. Do you have examples of maybe what you think?
I personally think for me, googliness also that you help each other, especially in our team, we're coaching each other, more senior reps are coaching the new ones and we're sharing knowledge.
Yeah.
And really fairness. It's not competitive. It's really winning as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also usually people are motivated, enthusiastic about their work. I think that is googliness for me as well.
Yeah, and I think also define who you are and stay true to yourself.
Yeah. Having integrity is important. Were you going to share something?
Mm-hmm. And then I forgot.
Because you looked at Teddy. He's very distracting.
Very distracting.
I also think that is this someone when we're assessing googliness? One of the things, so it's, do you do the right thing? Do you work as a team? Do you have integrity? Do you, if you have a ton of sales targets and all these things and you're constantly hitting your targets, but the how you're working, there's not only the what, it's the how. So even if you get things done really well or overachieve targets, but you're not a good person to work with, or you stepped on other people in order to get to your target, that's not googliness at all. So it's wanting to work with someone for 8 hours a day and enjoying it and knowing that they would help you if you needed it. They'd stay late with you if you needed it. Just having someone that is a supportive team member.
I think it's also, that's all I want to say.
Yeah.
It's also about wanting to learn.
Yeah.
Wanting to learn more about other people, about your job, about technology, and being curious is very important, I think.
One of the subsets also under that, which plays into earlier, is your ability to thrive in ambiguity. That is an actual subset of the googliness term. So often you'll see questions around, tell me about a time you had to switch projects halfway through or switch targets, and it's assessing your ability to shift priorities quickly and still be able to deliver. So that's also something that's really important at Google as a whole.
To accept change in general,
accept
right?
change,
Not
Yeah, people can hold on to things really, really easily. Yeah. Okay, so what else do we have here before we move into Q&A? Oh, well, that was it. So we have 20 minutes of Q&A set up for everyone. So just a real quick recap. Thank you again for joining. If you guys are going to drop off now during the Q&A session, like I mentioned, we'll be running these episodes to share what our current open roles are and how people have gotten the roles, their journeys, what the roles entail on a day-to-day basis. And then also I'll just briefly recap during these sessions our hiring process and interview process. So I am going to see what questions we have available. Thank you. Okay, so one of them is, thank you for asking this. So quick question, I've applied for some openings before, but never got any feedback. What's the best way to get noticed during the application process? That is a really good question. So I think a lot of times it's a timing thing as well. So sometimes we'll have a position available that it matches your skill set and your background at that point. But we already have people in process before your application. And so we fill the role and therefore it's no longer open. So we can't engage with you at that time. Sorry, I think it counts. Oh, well. Well, we're all going to know the date. By the way, everyone, it's Thursday, May 24th. So anyways, let me try to, here we go. No, I don't know. I'm going to leave it. Okay, so yeah, it might be at that point that we just don't have anything available. That shouldn't deter you from continuing to apply. What I would recommend if you're applying to multiple roles is to really open up the job requisition, the job rec, and look at the minimum, what we call MQs, minimum qualifications versus the PQs, which is preferred qualifications. Please make sure that you meet at least the MQs, the minimum qualifications. So if it says German, then you need to be business fluent in German. And they will test you on this in the interview process. So they will potentially have an entire interview conducted in German. So that's something not to fib about either on your CV. And you can indicate on your CV your languages. And then I would recommend indicating on your CV whether you're beginner, proficient, or advanced, just so we know. So look at the MQs, make sure you meet whatever the minimum qualifications are, and then look at the preferred qualifications. If you meet several of the preferred qualifications, then I definitely recommend applying to that role. Like I said, it might be a timing thing. We might already have a lot of people in process and therefore filled it by the time we were able to get to your application. But keep trying. I also have had candidates that have gone through the interview process for one role, and then we ended up filling that role, but I was able later to have them interview for a different team and they got on that team. So I'd also trust your recruiter that if a recruiter reaches out to you, that they know what they're doing based off of looking at your experiences and talking to you, that they think that you could be a fit for this role. And if it's not necessarily the role you initially wanted or thought of, definitely be open-minded, because they are professionally trained in what that role requires. And so if you have an open mind to what we're suggesting to you, I've had a lot of candidates get hired that way because they initially applied for a role, they didn't get it at that point, but 6 months later a recruiter reaches out and says, hey, I see that you've applied to this role, would you be interested actually in this position? So there's no specific feedback I can get to this type of question other than to please keep applying. It could work out tomorrow. It could work out 6 months, a year from now, 2 years from now, but definitely keep trying. And the best way to get noticed, it's always helpful if you know someone within the company that can refer you. So we have a referral process. Sometimes you can find on LinkedIn or other platforms some Google employees that went to your college or your university, and maybe connecting with them and talking with them and seeing if they'd be willing to submit a referral for you. Referrals are always responded to, so that's a great way to get your application seen as priority. And yeah, so the referral process is a great way to stand out. Also, just making sure your CV is up to date, and that it's in English and in PDF version when you apply. There is actually no need for recommendation letters, so you don't need to submit a letter of rec or a cover letter. All we need is, and we prefer, is a one-pager of your CV with the most relevant knowledge. So your university, your graduation year, and then your relevant experience in internships. Another thing that I see very frequently on CVs from the German and Alpine region is that students will often just say intern Mackenzie this year, and then that's it. And then they just list another internship and another internship, and they give no indication of, okay, what did you actually do there? So I would recommend providing your title. So what was it, like sales intern at this company, and then provide at least one bullet point of what you accomplished at the end during your time in internship there, because that gives recruiters a way to be like, oh, I actually can see in this CV the skills that they've gained and the more opportunities and positions I can fit them into. So please make sure that your CV has bulleted points on what you learned and achieved at your internship or university experience, so that recruiters have a better way of understanding and reaching and wanting to reach out to learn more. So that was a lot of time on one question. Let me try to figure out. Sorry about that. Okay, here's a great question for our cloud people. So what are some of the most memorable past projects so far in the Google Cloud team, and why? Obviously, we can't share sensitive data or anything, so we can't share specifics, but is there any most memorable? Can you share? Maybe not?
Well, we can share some. Depends a little bit. I think the person is asking for customer projects. So we do have some gaming companies that had huge issues in terms of scalability. Usually, online games like mobile games like Pokemon Go, for instance, they can just go crazy in one night. And we had one of the companies that was struggling quite a lot with one of these games. And throughout the process, we actually enabled them by shifting it from their own on-premise servers to the cloud, that they can actually run their new games even better and scalable. And I think it's nice to see if you see the current status and how actually then something on a cloud actually helps a company to have a better service. And then especially a game is always nice to see, right? Because that's everyone can relate to. It was really nice to see then a really smoothly running game where everyone, like millions of gamers, could actually join without any lags or any issues in terms of availability. So this was one of the main projects, I think, that were really interesting to work on.
Awesome. I think also just in general, when you start your research about cloud, it's very, very interesting to just get into use cases, and to figure out what cloud actually means and how we can transform businesses with it. Mm-hmm. And we both haven't been here very long, but also just understanding the technology and figuring out, there's some very, very famous apps that have Google Cloud in the background. Yeah. And suddenly understanding this is the app that I use on my phone every day, and now I know how actually this particular picture or song comes to my phone is just super cool. Yeah. So
the technical behind it all.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
The technical behind the magic of what you experience. Awesome. Okay, so also to that point, you said that you hadn't been on the team for very long. So kind of a basic question to answer here would be that for our internships, so our internships are always in your penultimate year, meaning that so at the fall of 2018, internships applications will open to intern with us summer of 2019. And then you would go back to school and graduate either the end of 2019 or 2020. So that's how kind of internships work when you're penultimate, your second to last year, because you do have to be officially enrolled in a university in order to be considered as an intern for Google. So you could also like come and intern with us next summer and go back to school for a month, or just walk across to receive your diploma or finish a thesis or something. You just have to be officially enrolled at university. So that's a basic thing to cover with the internship. On the full-time process, so we consider new graduates anyone anywhere from 0 to 2 years of work experience. So that's kind of what we're looking for these new graduate opportunities within these teams. If you have more than really 2 years of strong experience, then you'd probably be considered for more of an industry position at Google. So these are targeting students who haven't graduated yet, who may be graduating in May or June of 2018, and then could join us right after graduation. So you might not have even graduated yet, or you have been graduated for a year or two. Have you been graduated for over a year or two? Oh my gosh, so funny. Okay, so let's see what else we have. So here's a question about deadlines for these roles. So when you're welcome for this session, when are the deadlines? When is the application process open for the Google Cloud team? Are there also some projects with the financial sector? So there's, like I mentioned, so for internship opportunities, those apps are closed. They won't reopen until fall of 2018, so in a few months. But for these open roles that we have here for cloud or global marketing solutions, or for large customer sales, or for global customer care, they're open now. So you could go, and I also received everyone who registered for this event, I received your CV. So thank you so much for doing that. I'll also be sharing with you all your CVs with my recruitment team. So they can take a look and see if they feel like that you could be a fit. So you may be being reached out to from us in the next month or couple months or so, or you should, what I would recommend doing definitely is after this session, going online to google.com/students and our business opportunities and applying directly online. And like I said, so either we'll be reaching out to you since we've received your CV, or you can go online and apply directly, and we'll be letting you know if we'll be moving forward in the process. If we do move forward in the process, then we'll go through what I chatted about earlier, which a recruiter would read out to you. You'd have a recruiter phone screen, so they'd ask you some additional questions. If they feel you are a strong match, then you'd go to the business phone interview. And if you pass the business phone interview, we'd invite you for 3 on-sites in Dublin, most likely. One of the questions I saw earlier is, what does the sales pitch during the business phone call, how does that work? So if you're interviewing for SBS or as an associate account strategist in Global Marketing Solutions, the business phone interview includes a 20-minute pitch where the recruiter would send you some information before the interview, so don't worry, about a company you'd be potentially pitching AdWords to. Is that correct? So you'd be pitching AdWords to a company. You have 20 minutes to conduct the pitch. Then after the pitch, we continue with additional RRK questions, so role-related knowledge questions, just to see that your skill sets really match the sales position. Do any of you have additional insights on the pitch that you conducted? You can't share what the pitch was, but
I would say yes. So you get some information, just like a general company outlook, like what company it is, And then it would be good if you would familiarize yourself with like the AdWords products, like the most important bits of it, so that you can actually then create a strategy and you would role play with the recruiter. So like you're going to be the account strategist and the recruiter is the client. And then you would also like ask him, of course, about the goals and so on. And then finally, you would pitch the different solutions that how they can actually grow their business with AdWords.
Awesome. That's good to know. Wonderful.
About the financial sector?
Oh, yeah, at that point, yeah.
There is definitely a project with the financial sector. But right now, at least in Germany, we're not completely set up for, like, you wouldn't only work on financial projects. You would also work on other projects.
How many projects at a time do you think that you're working on?
A lot.
A lot. Never bored?
No.
Always exciting? Awesome. Thank you for remembering to answer that question. Sorry for forgetting. Wonderful. Okay, so one of the questions specifically about ECD was, someone says, thanks for all the valuable thanks, Philip. The enterprise customer development role for Google Cloud sounds great, but I can only start full-time in January 2019. Does it make sense for me to apply already? So I'm always a fan of applying because that way we have your CV on file because sometimes we'll post a position and we won't actually receive a lot of applications. So it's always great to be able to potentially re-review your application for the role at that time. So if we don't have your CV on file, there's no way for us to re-engage you. So I would say yes, apply, but you probably wouldn't hear anything now because they're looking to hire now now into like the end of the year. And then how the business kind of works for cloud, at least right now, is that the business is currently figuring out what 2019's what their headcount is for 2019. All we know right now is our 2018 headcount. So we're filling our 2018 headcount for these positions. And then later in the year, the business will come to recruitment and say, we have this many positions available for 2019. We need people to start this date. We need people to start this date and this date. And so at that point, you can reapply in January 2019, but I would always actually say it's probably best to apply a few months out because, if we do have headcount available for cloud for what we call Q1, which is January, February, March of 2019, we'll actually start engaging people probably in October, November to get them through the hiring process. Because I said it takes like 4 to 6 weeks. And then you would start in January or February. So whatever it's always good to apply ahead because we'll hire ahead to get you through the process, and then you'll start in potentially Q1 2019. So you can apply now. You probably won't hear anything back current for right now. But later in the year in fall, when we know what we can expect for 2019, we may re-engage you, but I would suggest to reapply later as well for the position. And
I think you can set up alerts, right? Yeah. So if you just set up an alert for Cloud German Market or Cloud ECD or something, and then the position comes up, you can apply directly.
That's a great suggestion. You can do it for locations as well. There's a bunch of filters. So you can do it by location, role, and then have alerts sent to you. Yes. All right. So I think we have time for one more question. I think I will. You're welcome, Dominique and KB. I will end on the CV question. So I kind of touched on this a little bit, but Luca asked, what's some good advice when writing your resume? Is making a good impression with your CV important? Yes, definitely. So I run a CV workshop for students when I'm out in country and hosting students. So one of the things I think is so fascinating is that on average, a recruiter will spend 8 seconds on reviewing a CV. So because we have hundreds and hundreds of applications we need to go through. So most of the time. So we'll go immediately to your graduation date. So we need to know when you graduate, so when you can start. So because we're always based off a start date rolling. So we'll go to when you graduate. We'll go to your relevant work experience. So that's why what I said earlier, it's so important. If you just list the companies you worked at without telling us what you did there, then there's nothing for us to work off of. So make sure to, in your relevant work experience, share your title and some bullet points of what you did, learned, and achieved. Like we said earlier too, quantify, quantify, quantify. If you can put that, for example, I was a waitress for 4 years during university. It's how I paid for a lot of things. And so on my CV, when I was applying for positions after university, I wouldn't just say waitress, Rialto Cafe this year to this year. I would say waitress, Rialto Cafe this year to this year, and I would bullet point. I wouldn't just say managed tables. I would say managed a section of 10 tables serving 100 guests per 8-hour shift, increased customer sales by 20% day on day, increased coupon sale. Like, you need to bullet point how you increased or optimized or improved anything based off of your internship there. So make sure to do that where possible. And we'll also look at your hobbies and skills. We'll look at your languages. That's why I said, please be honest about what your skill set is in a language. Don't say you're fluent at something if you're not fluent at something. So just a basic tip there. Anything else on the CV side? We generally recommend 1 page. Just because you have 8 seconds really that someone is looking at your resume. So you want to go straight to the most meaty, important points. After 8 seconds, if we feel like, wow, you do, have a lot of relevant skills, then we would spend more time going through everything else. But if we have to shift through 5 pages and the formatting is off and if things are misspelled, there's grammar issues, these are all flags for us. So please make sure, if you can, limit it to 1 page, to the most relevant skills or achievements you've had. Make sure your spelling is correct. Make sure your grammar is correct. Have a friend look over your CV. Go to your career center. Have them look over your CV, and then and make sure it's in English when applying online for us. So that is time. We're 2 minutes over. Is there anything you all want to add? You're good?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Teddy, do you want to? Yeah, good luck. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We'll be in touch for our next session when we host it next quarter. And feel free to add comments below on this station if you have any feedback or anything as well. So thank you. Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.